Greetings and salutations, Ben here. Welcome to the Sunday night hang right here on Sunday nights. Perfect. Hence the name, because I'm lazy. Yep. You're watching for the first time. Brace yourself. Please subscribe if you're returning. Well, you should know better. That's perfect. We got 23 people already in the chat before we even started, and I want to welcome back my friend, co-guitar player, because we both play guitar. I don't know where I was going with that.
I don't know. I don't know how that would even work.
I don't know. You were late coming in prior to the show, and I got busy playing the glass saxophone, so that explains that intro. So, hanging with Rob, which is always a pleasure. It's been too long. I realized when I sent the link to you, I'm like, geez, it's been a year since we've done this. So
no, there's no way. There's no way it's been a year.
It showed up. It looked like the last link I sent you was a year ago.
No, that absolutely could not be. I definitely was maybe like 3 or 4 months ago.
That's what I thought. But I don't know.
You know what? I wonder if we're counting that time I popped in on the Nesdal Town Hall.
Maybe.
With you guys. No, we definitely did this more recent than a year ago.
Okay, good. Amanda says not a year, so and I trust her opinion on things.
I don't even know how she would know. I don't even think she watches the show when I'm on it.
No, she just lets it play and then just randomly hits things into the chat to appear. It's a bot. It's a bot. It's automated.
It's the Amanda bot.
It's the Amanda bot. Yep. I knew it. So I want to give a bunch of shout outs in the chat here. We're all right. 34. All right. This is how it works, folks. You say hello. We say hello back. And the first I see in here, we have Brother James, JJ's House of Jams, Scott Brockaway, Amanda. She mutes it. I figured as much, so she didn't hear that. Hip Metal Works, Fret Level Midnight, Janice Lala, Charles 75N, Floop-de-doo. Great to see Floopy says, just got my 2 newest Tesi Switches a few days ago.
Thank you.
Hope you use coupon code Canucks and save 15% on anything site-wide. I'm telling you, folks. Terry's 3Gs, moderator to the stars, and co-host of Canucks with Guitars, right here tomorrow night. John Duchesne, Michael Krause, BC Rich 581, who is next Sunday's guest. Yep, talked him into it after years of negotiations, finally agreed to appear. Awesome. Dylan Washburn of Flipside Music. Link down below as well. Just saying. Yeah. Tim Thomas. Lawrence Cash from Alaska. Awesome. Thomas Santiago. Yes. Billy Baloney. John Duchesne. T. Ricky. Jack Collins. Dan of New Jersey. Seems to be more than 30 people in here. Milt T. Gretsch Zeppelin. Yeah, all the people are in here. Some guy named Tesi Switch. No, not a clue. No. Jim Woodard. Great to see Jim in here. Mark Taft. Gear Junkie 35. Paul McNary's apparently in here. There he is. I saw Amanda saying hello to him. Randy Crooks. Other Left. House of Twang. Our good friend Emery over at 10 Solo Music. Octopus Ears. Zach Thong. Let's go on down the bottom there. The Feel Buttons here. Milt T. All Dave, All Night. Chris from Coburg. Nice. Brett Holman. Great to see Brett in here. Jeff K. That's always the glass saxophone Milt. Always. All right. And anybody else that's joining in, welcome. So if you have any questions for either of us, ask away. There's a few things I wanted to discuss. I think the story of possibly the most badass Wolfgang I've seen in a while. Custom build, if you will, in many ways, shapes, and flavors. As well as, because I like to talk about them, somebody's carrying some new pedals on his website. Just saying. No, I'm not talking about Flipside, although probably. They seem to carry all the pedals. What do you need? We got them all.
What do you need?
know.
We
Yeah.
can help you out. Sure. Well, what's the lead story tonight? Where do you want to start?
Well, actually, lead story would definitely be rest in peace, Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah.
That's,
Wore my Foo Fighter shirt just for the occasion. What a surprise and tragic, like,
yeah.
you know, I guess. So let's go back to 2001, October 2001, and I got a phone call. No, it wasn't October. It was like January 2002. And I got a phone call from my mom. So my mom, you know, my family's close, but we're not like, we don't always feel like we need to talk to each other all the time, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a call from my mom, and I thought, okay, something bad just happened. And she called me. She told me that my brother had passed away. And he had struggled with drug addiction for most of his life. He was 42 years old when he passed. And now that I have surpassed the age that he was when he died, it's kind of, you know, it's weird in a way to think about it that way. Although I haven't had the same struggles that he had throughout his life. And then, you know, I'd tell people, oh, my brother just passed away. And they'd say, oh, I'm sorry. Was it a surprise? I'm like, well, it wasn't expected, but it wasn't a surprise. And I don't know. I know that Taylor Hawkins struggled with addiction and different things. And I know what it can do to a family and to a band and to, you know, loved ones. And that's the thing is you always go, well, you know, no, we didn't think it was going to happen, but I can't say that we're all in like a huge amount of shock over it. So and I don't know what happened with Taylor Hawkins. I just know that he struggled with addiction. And
having lost too many friends to addiction. Fortunately, no family members that I can think of off the top of my head to addiction, thankfully. But a lot of friends, too many friends. And like I like to read more than one report on something before, you know, these days before you can. But I saw multiple things saying up to 10 different substances in the system. I'm like, sounds like dude was just having fun on tour, because that's nothing would be excessive on that for one thing.
Let's just take a look at what we know is that the band announced it at like what 5:00 around ish yesterday. And I whenever I see, you know, RIP so-and-so on Facebook, I always go look to see, because there's been plenty of those where it's not true.
Right.
So then I start seeing, you know, within the past few minutes, like every news outlet is picking it up and running their own story. And only one of those outlets said something that said anything having to do with drugs. Right. And I don't know how they would know. And I don't know how anybody would have known. And I don't know how anybody would know today how many different substances were in his system. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying that's like a nice
with some form of
salt that you're going to take with it instead of just a grain, right?
Yeah.
So I always want to be careful.
Well, not
spreading anything. Like I say, I don't want to say that it was drugs, even though I did read one.
You're going to pass on several of those different substances just on. If you're on an antidepressant, for instance, it's a combination of things that makes that antidepressant. So that's going to tick boxes. And like say, that band is one of the things I always gave a shout out. They were still not afraid to have a pint or two before, during, and after a gig. You know, but Dave liked to keep things within reason. You know, and he liked to mention that to Taylor about. And which album did you not play on? And he went, yeah. And why? And he says this. And he went, right. And that's kind of the way Dave was with Taylor on it. But he kept an eye on him like a little brother for the most part. And I think also it reminds me of other rock stars that quote unquote OD'd, if that's even the case. It's literally, I used to do this much of this and this much of this in an evening. And then you go through recovery and then you get back. And then it can be literally, I did a third of this and a third of this of what I used to. But guess what? I'm 50 years old now and my heart can't take that. And which, again, we're hearing reports of an enlarged heart, which definitely would contribute to being susceptible to certain things. So,
Yeah, Dan in New Jersey says way too early to speculate. He's right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's all going to come out at some point, but
Exactly.
And especially with someone who in the past has struggled with addiction, that's kind of the place that everybody always goes initially. And then they find out, oh no, it was like Bob Saget died, what, a month and a half ago? Wasn't very long ago. And, I read speculation that there was some sort of, and I don't know if he's ever had any drug issues at all. Couldn't tell you. Not that I was aware of anyway. So it wasn't certainly as like publicized necessarily. But then when it comes out, okay, well, his deal was that he probably just accidentally banged his head on something and died of a head injury, and had a concussion and didn't think it was that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Which is, tragic in a different way. A good friend of mine, his son had the same thing happen in a hotel room. He hit his head on really hard on something, like a cabinet or something silly, and was like, I don't know, it hurts really bad, but I'm okay. Let me just sleep it off. And then he didn't wake up. So head injuries are no joke, kids.
That's true. That's true, man. Regardless of how, he was widely known as a good person, and that's what everyone will remember. And that's true too. And like you say, it's like people will say, like, some people have drug addictions for mental health reasons. That's often, there's a mitigating factor in that alongside mental health. Other people just like to have fun, and that's how they have fun or escape or whatever. Yeah, I think it's maybe time caught up. I don't know if I don't think it was, let's say, suicide as opposed to accidental OD, if that was the case, or just a heart attack, just plain simple heart attack.
Right.
With the stress of traveling, tour life, and you've traveled, Rob, for gigs. You don't sleep well. You're always.
I always sleep like a baby. Bus, van, strange hotel room where I wake up. I'm not sure what town I'm in.
You're that guy.
No, I sleep like a baby.
Yeah, you're that guy in the band.
No, I'm not. I always have. Well, the thing is, I sleep so bad at home that no matter what I'm doing, when I go out, I usually sleep better on the road than I do at home.
Fair enough.
Because I'm always, if I'm here, I'm working. If I'm out on the road, it's like a vacation because I can't work. I can't do anything.
Yeah, you can only do so much, right?
So, yeah. Janice Lala said that his heart was twice the size of a normal heart. Speaking of Taylor Hawkins again. And that would do it. And it brings up another potential issue about the Grinch, whose heart grew 3 sizes in one day. That would put the stress on anybody, whether it's human or some sort of a cartoon monster. Mm-hmm.
Which apparently couldn't be that easily detectable, since I would assume on a tour like that, at that level, those guys are going through physicals for insurance reasons and stuff prior to any tour.
I don't even know how that would work. I don't know how that works. Maybe, probably. I mean, that on a big tour like that, where you're going around the world, I'm sure there's doctors involved where they're doing that. At the least, they're doing physicals and like make sure you got all your vaccinations, so you're not going to get Ebola from somewhere. For sure that something. But is it? Are they making them run on a treadmill for 10 minutes to see what their cardiovascular system looks like? I doubt it.
Can you see asking Pat Smear to do that? He's gonna be standing there smoking, going, "I don't do that."
Yeah. If you want to put me on a rowing machine set on automatic for 5 minutes, I'll sit on that. But
exactly.
I'll do a stair machine as long as it's actually just an escalator.
Exactly. It does all the work.
And it's even better if it's one of those flat ones at an airport. I'll do that one.
Yeah. Moving sidewalk. Yeah. How long do you want me to be on this treadmill? I can do this all day.
You can do it all day.
Welcome to all those.
Bring me a chair. Bring me a chair. You got yourself a deal.
Exactly. So, I don't think I'm missing anything in the chat too much as far as any questions goes, which is awesome. But yeah, I definitely want to talk. I found out about Taylor passing. Literally, I just happened to open Twitter before bed on Friday night, and it was literally Foo Fighters had posted a minute or two prior.
Yeah.
Their post, and I went, holy crap. And then I just put my post out regarding it as well because I was just shocked.
Yeah. It's
never got to meet him. I was hoping I'd run into him at a NAMM show or something because he seems like the type of guy that would just be. Then again, I'd have to go to the drum section probably.
Well, I don't know. I mean, was he like a dude that hung out at NAMM?
I wouldn't doubt it, but I think he would just do it just to show up if he was bored one day, not necessarily as a complete gear junkie or anything.
You know, it's funny because I've been going to NAMM for many years. Like I've missed very few. And there's the NAMM royalty.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always like Steve Vai has a big mob of people around him no matter where he goes, and he's got a couple of security guys, and he's, you know, and he won't stop and talk to you in the hall because he's got somewhere to be. But then like when you go over to the drum section, and it's just all these like phenomenal drum monsters just like standing there and like hanging out.
Yeah,
talking, you know, they're over like where they get their heads from, or where they get their sticks from, or where they get their drums from. If you will run into more what I would say like A-list drummers, but you won't, like, you'll get like Greg Bissonette and Vinny Caliuta and you know, but you're never going to see like Phil Collins.
Right. You're
never going to see Stuart Copeland.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's just some guys just don't want to bother with it.
Right.
For some reason, every once in a while, and I think they got to probably shell out a lot of cash to get Gene Simmons there, but you'll see him there sometimes. And same with Paul Stanley, but you never see Sting.
Right.
Billy Sheehan is huge at NAMM, but you'll never see Adam Clayton or Cliff Williams. You know, it's like the guys who made a gajillion dollars playing quarter notes aren't going to go to NAMM. I don't know why that is.
Right. Exactly. Oh, especially the guy. Well, I was like Cliff Williams. I've been using the same rig for 40 years. You know, like, unless they reinvent the P bass again.
You know, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even then, if it ain't broke, you know,
exactly.
that guy's sitting back playing You Shook Me All Night Long and just waiting for those checks to roll in. That's all it is.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. What's wrong with that? Solid player.
No,
I thought it was easy at first till I tried doing it. Cramping.
There's, you know, it's funny because there is a skill and a groove to AC/DC stuff. I will say, unlike U2 songs where it's what you see is what you get.
Right.
You know, he's quarter noting the root no matter what song it is. He's holding it down. I think Adam Clayton is probably the highest dollar to note ratio in the music business.
You may be right on that one. Yeah, there's no fancy, there's no extras really.
But oh yeah, Jim Woodward, Adam Clayton knows he's not the bassist. A lot of these guys are. He's great, but he's not Billy Sheehan. Well, but the other thing that you think of is, do we really know how good Adam Clayton could be? You know?
Right.
I mean, you got to figure he's been playing bass that we know of for at least 40 years. When did U2 first come out? In like 84, 82, something like that.
I think they formed in the 70s.
So yeah, and I don't know. I'm not a huge
fan. Like I think they're getting closer to the 50 range than the 40 range at this point.
So, you know, you play that long, and you got to figure at some point he's probably thought, you know, maybe I could do a little more than I've been doing. Maybe I could, you know, and I'm sure he sits down and rehearses on his own and contributes to the songwriting. I don't know, but you think about And it's also in Nashville. You think about the bass players that get the studio gigs here in Nashville.
Sure.
And a lot of it's country or blues. And there's it's more now than it used to be, but these guys like Leland Sklar, who played on like every country record ever.
Right.
And also played with Genesis, you know? So it's like these guys have a lot of chops, but the music doesn't call for it.
Yeah.
Where I think you get a guy like Stu Hamm and you're calling him because of his chops. Like, you're not calling Stu Hamm to play on a country record.
Right.
You're calling Stu Hamm because you want a lot of bass work.
Right.
So.
What's up, Max? Leo?
So there you go.
Yeah. The more I think about it with you too, like how much is that is just like the edge, just like I have this, fill in around it, you know, like hard to say.
You know, there's obviously they've hit on a formula that works really well for them.
Oh yeah.
And works really well for a lot of people until that formula includes Apple just downloading onto every device your latest album, and then that makes people mad for some reason. What, a free album? No, I don't want it. But they've got their thing, and I just, you know, I don't think that.
Actually, come to think that they've been laying low. Like, are they finally at the point where they're going to transition to retroact and stop releasing new material? You know, because they released a lot of material for a long time.
Oh,
you know, where bands all of a sudden they're finally like, you know what? We know you only want to hear the older stuff. You don't even want to hear the last 4 albums type thing. And then they go that route, you know, which is fine.
You know, so I don't have any firsthand experience with like the Grammy world.
Right.
Really being a guitar player that's primarily played covers for the last 30 years.
Sure.
And have never had a major album release. But from what I understand, the nomination, to get the nomination isn't cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that, you know, whether it's the record company or the band themselves or a public, you know, whoever, maybe they pool it all together and say, we want these guys to get nominated. So here, Grammy people, is our nomination packet along with $100,000 or whatever. I don't know.
Sure.
I'm not trying to start rumors. I don't know if this is true. Seems like I've heard that this is true. It definitely is true, like at the lower levels of like music awards in the Los Angeles area. That I know for a fact. But
an awful lot.
But I can only imagine that it continues right on up. You know, it's primarily a scam.
Yeah.
The good news is that at least when you get to the level of like the Grammys, the scam is at least believable because it's usually a good album that is nominated and a good album that wins. But
Right.
if you win a Grammy, your record sales the next day, back when you could buy records or did buy records, would, you know, go through the roof. So like U2 won Grammy for best new album.
Right.
And I wish I could remember what album it was, but this would have been in the 2000s at some point. And they sold 1 million records the next day. This is what I hear. Well, I don't even know why I'm telling you this. I don't know. I'm making all of this up from stories that I've heard from someone who probably doesn't know. I don't know.
I like my sister's line, Gracie Palms Shine Awards.
No,
exactly.
They call them the awards.
They're
like, this is my dirty Grammy, but where's yours? Ta-da!
Yeah, like literally, I remember the last Grammys I watched was that Jethro Tull winning Medal of the Album of the Year, and I'm like, what? First of all, it's like they had a new album out. So
a lot of times, yeah, a lot of times it's like, well, yes, but no, it's actually being released tomorrow, but we wanted to get it in time for Grammy consideration.
Yeah.
That's what, like, the Academy Awards is the same thing to me. It's like so many movies I've never even heard of.
Yep. It was funny. The news did a thing on that, how it's interesting how like all the biggest movies are all like, blockbusters, and they do all the, the most people watch these movies and they gross the most money. Yet you look at the Oscar nominee list and half of them you're going, I kind of remember that movie coming out. Or
well, that's what I think the challenge is. The studios, they have to constantly put out movies, but I'll bet you the January, I don't know, whenever the Oscars are, like the stuff that comes out like right after, it's because they missed a deadline. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Let's see. Where did I see that? Billy Baloney says, I worked in record stores for over 20 years. When Toto 4 won album of the year, we sold a shit ton the next week. Well, I think at that time too, it would be like, if you weren't as familiar, like that'd be the tipping point, because you'd hear more songs and clips, and because early to mid 80s, you weren't saturated with MTV and stuff like that. And
that's true.
Let's be honest, a lot of popular music still wasn't even used in advertising. Like the first instance I remember of a contemporary song used in advertising was Bob Seger with Like a Rock. And then Van Halen shortly thereafter with a Crystal Pepsi situation. Just saying.
Okay. Right. No, like it. Yeah, life has changed a lot in the last 5 years. I mean,
yeah. I knew the record industry was still shady. I remember as a kid when my dad was talking about like the charts, and he's like, that's not albums sold. That's albums shipped or albums ordered. That's how an album debuts at number 1, because the record company would say, here, instead of getting 1,000, you're taking 10,000 of this album. And then you do that first week sales or first week orders, really.
And there you go.
Shady.
Bob's your uncle.
Yep. Not saying it's sold a single album, but hey.
Yeah, because so then these days, and probably going back longer, but back when an album would be at number 1 or a song would be at number 1 for years, months, weeks, anything longer than a week, really, or a couple of weeks, that was a better measure of success, because now either our attention span or the record company's attention span or somebody's attention span is too short for something to have a life longer than, a couple weeks.
Exactly. And that's why you have song charts and not album charts anymore, because an album.
Well, there's not, there is
an EP out of an artist.
Artists are still kind of stuck, and I don't think it's a bad thing, but they're still kind of stuck on the idea of an album as the collection of songs. Right. And if you're smart and you're doing it in the way, like, think whatever you want about Jack White, the White Stripes, or the Raconteurs, or the different things that he's done, but he's built a pretty good business here in Nashville of pressing vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
And they, and he's got his own record company, and it's all like similar kind of bands as the ones that he's involved in. But
sure.
But I think they make a lot of their money on vinyl.
Oh yeah. Well, vinyl. Oh my God. It's not cheap to buy a vinyl record, because like we actually have a record store in town that and it's funny because it's like you release an album, it's either vinyl or digital. Download.
Yeah, well, did I hear cassettes are making a resurgence?
I heard about that. Who mentioned that?
Are cassettes coming back? Somebody find out. Somebody in the chat find out. Yeah, Jimmy Ray. Yes, Third Man Records.
Yeah, I think it was something like Tascam or Memorex, or one of those companies is starting to make cassettes again for some reason. I don't know the reasoning behind it, other than I think Pete Thorne had mentioned on his show today. Could be wrong. What's up, Hippie?
Yeah, I mean, what?
Jimmy Ray, yeah, he likes Jack White. I like Jack White. Not really a fan of his music or anything, but I dig what he does, because he's just like, you know what? I'm going to be me and do my thing. Like, awesome. Okay.
I'll tell you where. It's like I'll say I'm not a huge fan of the music for the most part, but he's nailed the sound that he's going for. He's nailed it. And you can tell it's deliberate. and he approaches guitar tone in a real interesting way, and he approaches just like the overall feel of the album in a real interesting way, where it's kind of like it's like a rock that you took out of the polisher a little too soon. You know what I mean? The tumbler versus like, think about all the stuff that like Chad Kroeger produced, where like everything is like auto-tuned to the perfect pitch, and like all the guitar tones sound the same. All the harmonies are like, they're all like fifths, like perfect fifths all over the place. And I mean, that's a different formula that's worked really well for him. He made $1 million off of doing that. But, you know, Jack White kind of took his own formula and said, you know, it just doesn't have to be so shiny.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like,
it's interesting in that way. It's, you know, it's like we have those two divergence, and you see it in so many walks of life. It's like we have slick corporate, and then absolute, almost like DIY artisan, you know, hipster. Like, you know, it's like you can go to the huge supermarket and get meat, or you go to that dude who looks like he's from a century ago because he's a hipster, but he owns the coolest butcher shop in town because he thought he wanted to be retro. And, you know, we have this whole generation of people that are reclaiming the mom and pop in that way. So it's weird how we do that.
Beard hairs out of all your food. So,
well, there is that. Yeah.
Like really long ones.
Yeah. I've always, lo-fi, Jeff K. I've always been a fan of lo-fi stuff, like, you know, Dinosaur Jr., lo-fi. I was trying to explain Dinosaur Jr. to Nesdal, Rob, and it didn't go well. It didn't go well. Dave just, he can't wrap his head around Dave Maskus, and I love him.
So compare it to Van Halen, and then he'll get it.
Yeah, he's like, I don't see, because he watched the Jay Maskus rig rundown. And he's like, I don't get this guy. Like, why do people like him? I'm like, because he's awesome.
It's, you know, it's something different.
Yeah. Exactly.
Not every guitar player was inspired to learn how to play by Eddie Van Halen.
Yep.
I was. You probably were. Or at least, you know, inspired by him at some point along the way.
Oh, yeah. It comes into my playing. It's scary where it comes in. And it's funny because we all take different things from Eddie, too. Like, some people that diverge in that pure shred took that part of Eddie's playing, whereas I took mostly Eddie's rhythm stuff, you know, and the way he attacks when he plays, like his right hand.
Yeah.
I can't do the left-handed stuff, but the right-handed stuff, except for the tapping, I can't do that. I can, but not well, and it's uncoordinated, and it sounds like a newborn lamb trying to walk. If you put that to music, that's what it was.
Like a rock stuck in a hubcap.
Yeah. It's, you know, if it was twice as smooth, it'd be as smooth as Jimmy Page on his bad days, you know, where Jimmy Page would have very frenetic, fractured playing.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's another one where I feel like the Led Zeppelin stuff was deliberately sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jimmy Page, before Led Zeppelin, was a studio guy.
Exactly.
Playing on other people's records. And I mean, you could tell it still sounded like Jimmy Page, but when you go back and listen to it, it's cleaner playing.
Yeah.
And when I say sloppy, I mean, like, in a way, you can tell there's like some things that you'd overdub today to fix in the recording that he didn't. Mm-hmm. And I'll say, not that he's out of time, but his timing is loose. Mm-hmm. He swings the guitar parts really hard. He swings the solos really hard. He does. And unless you're like I don't know, maybe if you're not a jazz guy, you still know, but you know, swinging is you're never hitting the upbeat on the upbeat. You're always maybe a half beat before or behind. And Jimmy Page,
like some guys, you know, like really you look at Keith Richards famously always plays behind the beat. And there's some guys that play up in front of it. Jimmy plays all around it. He's dancing circles around it at times. Yeah.
No, I love Jimmy Page, man. It's one where I don't get tired of listening to Jimmy Page play. But then you hear stuff like the Rain song. It's a slow tune, a lot of acoustic guitar, but everything is like right on the beat every time. So you know he can do it.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah. Well, let's how many people are watching right now?
62.
62.
Make sure you leave a thumbs up, folks.
How many of you guys in the chat have seen some of my Instagram posts over the last couple of days?
You can type one in the chat and
just put
we'll probably get more people.
I just kind of want to know. I just kind of want to know who has seen it. I'm just curious, mostly curious.
I'm thinking it's funny because Charles in the chat here, he and I were talking on the phone earlier this evening, and I talked about what we're going to show, and he's like, "Oh, I wasn't aware," and I was like, "Oh, you're in for a treat, buddy."
Yeah, you are. All right. So a couple of years ago, so as some of you may or may not know, I buy a lot of pedals. Like locally, I buy pedals from guys that are just selling their pedal boards. I buy pedals from guys that are, and I flip most of them, and every once in a while I'll keep something. But there was one guy a couple years ago, or nearly maybe like a year and a half ago. I can't remember, 2 years ago. Who knows? He had like 6 pedals. And then whenever I talked to him, I said, what else do you have? What else are you selling? And this guy had a Wolfgang guitar. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to buy the guitar. The deal was right. And I'm going to use it for like a couple of gigs to see if my hands enjoy it. Because I've played them at like Guitar Center and my hands just go, no, I don't like this. So I got this guitar. I took it to a couple of gigs and I really liked it. But I bought it and it was already like it had been this guy's #1 guitar. So it was pretty beat up, like some finish from where his ring had been hitting the face of it and buckle rash on the back. And I didn't really care about that because, it's a guitar. And if you want to play it, you're going to play it. And that kind of stuff is going to happen to it anyway. But I had the idea that I was going to I wanted to get it refinished. And I was thinking, well, do I want to do just get a similar matte black top? Do I want to get a swirl finish, which would be cool? And then I decided I wanted to do like a fabric top, like the Steve Vai, the green, not the green, but the flower gem. Sure. I wanted to find a really cool fabric that I thought would look awesome on a guitar. I found this really beautiful looking silver brocade fabric that had like these circles and crosses on it, and it looked so awesome. And it would have looked killer on the guitar. And then the guy who did it, Craig Stofko, he sent me a photo after he put that silver fabric on it and turned all brown and blotchy and gross when he tried to clear coat it. So it did not react well to the finish. So I went back out and I found another fabric, which was a floral pattern, blue and purple and paisley, and I'll show it to you in a minute. But I thought, as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, this is the one. This is the one that I need to have on this guitar. And I hope that it's gonna turn out great. And where is it? Oh, all right. So I have it sitting back here on top of some things where it could easily get tipped over.
Oh, perfect.
And we'll start with, oh crud.
Parts falling off of it because it's just a locking face.
Yeah, the bridge, the tremolo fell off because I had it sitting on there, and I don't have any strings on it yet. So obviously the tremolo is not stuck to it. So, all right, here is, I hope you can see it. Here it is. Let's do this. This is going to fall off and I'm going to hurt something.
Look at that, folks.
So the finish ended up getting yellowed a little bit by the clear coat, but like just in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so pleasing. And when you get close, you can still see the detail in the fabric. You're probably not going to be able to get it here. I don't know how well this is focusing because now I can't see my screen. I put on some FU tone parts on the bridge, the screws, the string inserts, obviously the D-tuna, the bridge posts, and then I got to take this bridge out so I don't accidentally drop it and scratch up.
Yeah, please.
I did a couple of interesting things with the electronics.
Of course.
And
you had to.
Obviously, yeah. And it didn't have a kill switch, but I had a kill switch put in.
Of course.
And I'm one of those guys where my volume is either all the way up or all the way down. I have no nuance to that. So I put a latching kill switch here, which will just mute the guitar.
Nice.
And then this is a tone pot that I just threw tried to get close with the knob. This is a dark blue of the Wolfgang knobs that I sell. So there's that. I had ordered some really cool DiMarzio pickups that are like black nickel covers to put on here, and they don't fit. Because the covers with the nickel covers, you can see just like a standard pickup goes in here. It's like the perfect fit. You put a cover in there and it's not going to fit. So I'm trying to decide if I want to do something different with the colors here, but I just ended up putting the original EVH pickups back in there. One other thing to note is that so you guys that have bought these kill switches from me, you know that my EVH style kill switches light up. And this one I ended up putting a blue LED behind a red cap so that when it lights up, yeah, it just looks white, doesn't it?
Off-white.
It's kind of purple.
Well, it should be purple.
It's kind of purple. It's like a purple. It's weird because I wonder if it'll help.
I can't tell blues and purples anyways, Rob. I'm colorblind that way.
Oh, look at it. Look down here in the reflection.
Yes.
You can kind of see what it's trying to do, where the edges of it, you still see the red really well, but then like all the inner parts are blue because there's like a white internal piece. And so it's a blue LED hitting those white internal pieces, and then it's hitting the red cap. So it is kind of a cool, like purplish looking. I just wish you could see it better. I'm trying to like kind of keep it from. I don't know. Anyway, I'll have some better photos, and then obviously for the headstock, I thought I can't have a guitar that cool and just have like a black normal headstock. So I got
check this out, folks. So
he did the headstock matching for me. This is coming out way darker on here than it looks in real life. And then I put in these Hipshot tuning machines on here with the industrial type buttons. And the reason it's not done yet is because these holes don't quite line up with the tuning machine, so I've got to get a small drill bit, which I need to buy some. Oh, and I put the blue titanium locking nut screws on there as well. So when this thing is done, I'll get a bunch of photos. I'll put them on my Instagram. If you feel like following me on Instagram, then it is at Tesi Switch, all one word. If you don't feel like following me on Instagram, that's fine. You do you, pal.
That's fine. Yeah. You're missing out, but that's fine. So Charles 75 ends in love because he just finished up today, Rob, my fabric top Kramer.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
So that should be in the mail this week. And and he did the whole guitar, front, sides, back, the whole thing.
Beautiful.
Wild fabric that I have not seen the finished product. So it'll be a genuine unboxing, me going, ooh, wow.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'll watch that.
I saw he sent me a bunch of material samples and I went, oh, that one. And he went, that's a lot. And I said, it is. Because I was like, we got to make it, because it's probably going to be the only fabric top Kramer out there, or fabric wrapped Kramer out there.
Sure.
But I wanted it to be kind of wild because it's a Kramer. So Like if they had done a fabric wrap in the 80s, I guess maybe that kind of explains it. Yeah.
Sure. Well, in the, I mean, in the 80s, I mean, I don't know how Steve Vai came up with, hey, make these curtains into a guitar finish for me.
Right.
Aside from him just like seeing these and thinking, and that's the thing. It's like, honestly, if I had those curtains, because I have that gem, it's over on my wall right there. If I had those as curtains, I would think those are the ugliest looking grandma curtains I've ever seen in my life. And frankly, the same with my guitar. They're not. It's not an attractive pattern for curtains or for a couch or for a shirt, God forbid. Yeah. But it looks so good on a guitar. It's amazing. And you know, I've definitely bought things because to me they're so ugly that they're beautiful. Same. You know,
there's always going to be a spot back here for Paisley Telly if I ever come across one.
Just right. And that's one of them. That's so ugly. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Would you like this pink Paisley? Yes.
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. And I'll tell you what, I mean, just from the messages and from the comments that I've gotten on Facebook and Instagram when I put the photos up, I mean, I'm excited to take this thing on the road with me, and so hopefully I'll be able to get it going. Mm-hmm. I'm playing in Georgia next weekend, so hopefully I'll be able to take it out with me.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Dylan Washburn is still in the chat or not, but I saw he picked himself up one of our friends Lawrence Petros's new 109-degree distortion pedals that came out this week, and he's
Have you heard that? Have you heard that pedal, Ben?
I've actually owned one since June of last year.
What do you think? How hot is it?
I fucking love it. He's rebranded it, but he's not here to defend himself. It's basically a Rat with an active bass control. So with the bass at noon, it's out of the circuit, so you can either take away or add. So it's just a thicker Rat tone for me, and especially pushing. I use it to push the green channel of the 87 pedal. So it's basically pushing. I have that set for a very plexi type sound, that kind of spanky plexi, and the way it hits, I was just like, oh yeah, there's the 80s. Especially if you throw a little modulation on it.
Yeah. That's great, man.
And I just rediscovered it again because he started teasing it on the internet a couple weeks ago. I was like, oh yeah, I should revisit that. And I'm glad I did. Took me in a whole new way of noodling.
I've got, look at this.
Oh, nice.
Made in the USA. I want to say probably 91. I think I had to get the screw for the bottom plate because when I bought it, I didn't have that. But I just got the ridiculous 1/8-inch power plug on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Great sounding pedal.
Michael Cross like, it's not a Rat. Well, mine says Vermin on the circuit board. Just saying. Just saying. That's
so what. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the faceplate that I was sent. So I don't know. You know. What am I saying? I don't know.
Maybe it's an acronym for like virtual radial massage your neck. I don't know.
Yeah, MOSFET. Nearly? I don't know. Sure, we'll go with that. Scott Brockway's bragging has an original 82 Rat. You bastard. Fine. I don't know if you knew, Rab, since you like to pick up and flip pedals. This is the year of the Dodd for me, I've decided. DOD pedals.
Oh, yeah?
I'm going to snap them up this year. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. If you're interested in the stuff that they have in their current lineup, be a frequent visitor to their website. because they frequently will run like a 20, 30, 50% off deal on brand new pedals.
I didn't think they were even doing pedals anymore. I thought they were completely out of business.
Since when?
A couple years ago?
Nah, they're still going.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you know who owns it now?
Well, it's like DoD Digitech owned by... Oh, I knew this the other day. No, I don't. Tell me.
Jam.
Right.
The Canadians. What's their store? Long and McQuaid.
Really?
Yeah. You didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me just...
BC Rich says, I'm going to start collecting Arian pedals. I love plastic. I just really... DODs haven't shot up in price the same way everything else has on the used market, because people are like, why do you want some of these abominations? So it's like, that's exactly why I want them, because they're abominations, and nobody is willing to put out a pedal like them anymore. Yeah,
so DOD and Digitech, but DOD, they're still making pedals, and they've reissued a lot of their older designs. So like the preamp 250, and it's right now it's on sale for $75.
Dang.
Envelope filter for $60.
All right, I'm reaching out to them.
Yeah, so go to their website. I mean, I'm sure that they've got a warehouse in Canada and would be happy to ship them to you if that's what you're looking for.
The warehouse would be in Pickering. Basically Yorkville. They use the same warehouse.
Yeah, maybe.
Because Yorkville is owned by Long and McQuaid, and Long and McQuaid also owns Coast Music, which is the wholesale division of music retail in Canada.
Okay.
Because we love monopolies in Canada, Rob. Makes it really fun on a mom and pop.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, Fretlet Midnight's like, I thought Samsung had shelved DoD, but apparently not. They sold it. That's good.
Samsung?
I don't know. I'm just reading what he said.
I don't think Samsung. Harman, which is I think also
right.
Lexicon. I'm trying to remember now all the Harman corporate families. I'm looking it up right now because
Harman is owned by Samsung. Scott Brockway mentioned.
Oh, okay, there you go. Okay, I didn't know that Harman was owned by Samsung, but now
everybody's owned by everybody, it seems.
So the Harman family, which is Harman, a Samsung company, is AKG, Infinity, like car stereos, JBL, Lexicon, Soundcraft, Martin Lighting Systems, Crown Power Amps, DBX, Digitech, and other ones that I don't really have any experience with.
I had some experience with those Crown Power Amps. They're pretty solid stuff. Expensive.
Sure.
Because they were like power amps you'd use for like an 18-volt PA system in a school or something like that. It's weird.
18-volt? What are you talking about?
I think 18-volt PA systems I used to put in. Maybe it was 24-volt. I don't know. That's how they were measured.
How would you have...
I don't understand how it worked, Rob. They talked in volt. I'm like, but they're ohms. They're like, but it's an 18-volt system. I'm like, that makes no sense. From an engineering standpoint, they're like, it's the military. It's known as an 18-volt system.
I'm sorry, no. Maybe 220.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe as they send a trickle charge because they got, 3,900 speakers hooked up to one power amp for an entire building. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. 70 volt. Michael Kraus says 70 volt.
That rings a bell too.
Well,
maybe.
I don't know. I'm looking at some of his previous comments, and it looks like
I don't know.
I don't know. His comments aren't those of a raving lunatic.
That was like a decade ago, when I worked for the military. That was a long time ago. After a while, I just started delegating.
Sure.
Because it was easier that way.
Why not?
Yeah, here, go work in this hangar, and here's a bunch of privates to do all the actual work. Perfect. Put them to work and then go outside and smoke.
That's what you got to do.
Yep.
Delegation.
Yep.
Well, and they're privates. They got a lot to prove.
Well, they definitely had everything to learn. That was for sure.
Well, you know, what are they? I mean, what's the age of enrollment in Canada? Is it 18?
Oh, yeah. It's basically there are a lot of 18 to 20-year-olds.
Well, I know, but like, you're not going to find 17-year-olds.
No.
Is my point.
No.
So, let's see. What are some of the cool things that I can show you, Ben?
I don't know. Do you have any of the new pedals that you're carrying, Rob, handy? I can't remember the name of the new line, but I was checking out their stuff. They got a whole variety of stuff.
Well, I have. Yeah, you know what I have? There is this company that, the guys that are building these pedals came from Argentina. When they were in Argentina, they had a successful pedal brand for the local music scene. They were known as something else. They had a different name, and I do not recall what it is. So forgive me if you ever see this, guys, at this company, Matero Effects.
Okay. These
guys are now in Florida. They're building their pedals in the United States.
Cool.
They have good packaging. It comes with a sticker, which I think every good product should come with a sticker. Hey, Ben, do you have any Tesi Switch stickers?
No, but I have some Tesi Switch decals.
Okay, that's the same thing.
I have a die cut handy. I also have... hey, Rob, don't you carry Earthquaker pedals as well?
I do. I'll show you one of my new Earthquaker pedals here in just a second. So this particular effect here from Matero Effects is called the King Vegas. It is a delay pedal. Comes with its very own mini pearl tag.
Awesome.
How many people in the chat know the reference? Oh, you've got like every sticker I've ever made.
Yeah, well, you hooked a brother up during my last order. What am I saying?
Well, that's true. I did. Did I ever send you one of the big window stickers?
No.
Okay, I will next time.
All right. Well, I was going to be putting in. I keep forgetting to order those cream-colored Wolfgang knobs.
Oh well, I don't have any now. They've been on terminal back order. Someday they'll be back.
Yeah.
So here you get your back. What I like, one of the things I like about these is, going back to the time when there's like no user serviceable parts inside.
Right.
Put that on the outside of these are. I mean, you could get in there, but it takes this weird little hex screw to get in.
Cool.
So they don't run on batteries. They only run.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm guessing it doesn't take a battery.
No, it doesn't. But one thing that kind of trips me out, and I don't know why they would do this, is look at where the power jack is compared to the foot switch, unlike where your cable, where your audio cable goes.
Yeah, no bueno on that.
That's weird. I like it when they're on the back.
Yep.
Because
I like everything there. If I can squeeze the pedals together that much more, I'm happy.
So Matero has a good line of distortions, of overdrives, fuzz, delay, a reverb, a good reverb pedal. These are great pedals. These guys kind of sent me an email out of nowhere saying, hey, we're new in the US. We see that you carry pedals. Would you have any interest in carrying our pedals? And I said, why don't you send a couple of them to me and I'll play with them and I'll let you know what I think. And if I like them, I'll just buy them. So they sent me one of each pedal. And I did. I liked them. They sound great. They're solid. They're built like a tank. And so I bought all these pedals, and I don't think I've sold any, but it's hard. If you remember a few years ago, and I was trying to get the Gervana pedals going, and that was a challenge because as great as those pedals are, handmade pedals. I think the biggest challenge with them was that it said in big letters right across the front of it, made in China. And there's not a problem with that. They're really proud of what they do. They have incredible amount of national pride, and they want to be known as a Chinese product that is high quality. And everything's made in China. The stuff that you get that's made in the USA, I would say 70% of the parts are probably made in China.
Right.
The challenge is getting people's brains to separate the made in China from what we have traditionally considered to be cheap garbage.
Right.
Even though we have a lot of stuff that we spend a lot of money for, that's, how much is an iPhone? $1,300 made in China.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So we have, the challenge there, and I asked if they would ever take that off of there, and they didn't want to because they're proud of what they do.
Sure.
They do hand make every pedal. They sent me videos of them wiring up one of their more complex circuits. They use good components, good stuff. Anyway, so Matero is kind of facing that same thing, but they have the benefit of being in the USA, owning their own brand in the USA, and having a marketing budget, where Gervana was just relying on me to do everything. And I spent some money on trying to get it going. I did magazine ads. I did a lot of online stuff. I pushed it pretty hard. I had some people do videos. They're great sounding pedals, and I sold some, but not enough for me to justify keeping it going with everything else I have going on. Because I've got my own brand that I need to push and support. And I got my own list of people that are trying to email me to get free stuff, and my own list of people trying to, and honestly, there was a few occasions where I kind of took it in the shorts with Gervana pedals, because some people that I would have thought would be more trustworthy ended up asking me to send pedals to, and it's YouTubers, and it's people that Ben, maybe not personally, but it's people that you're at least aware of. And I sent some pedals out, and they never did anything with them, except for complain that maybe something had a tiny little scratch on it, and they said, "Is this a brand new pedal?" Come on. I sent you a free pedal. Can I please get, your offer was, can I get a free pedal and I'll do a video? So at my expense, I shipped it to Europe to that frizzy haired weirdo. Never heard from him again. So, I don't need that kind of stress.
Sure.
For something that, it was a big challenge. But Matero, and they're great. Matero was great sounding pedals. I think that if they can get a foothold, I'd like them to get a foothold here in the U.S. because they've definitely got a good story behind what they've done, and coming from Argentina.
I was checking out them on your website a couple weeks ago, and I meant to reach out to them myself because I was like, I'm not seeing much of a presence other than some stuff they put out themselves, I think. And I was like, I should reach out to them.
Yeah, Jim Woodard. I wonder what frizzy-haired weirdo that was. It was a frizzy-haired weirdo. So here's kind of the latest thing from Earthquaker. And this is I guess it's not that big of a... Is it a big deal? I don't know. I'll let you guys decide.
All right.
If... Michael Krause, you have no idea who I'm talking about because I didn't mention any names. And actually, I'm not even sure I remember his or her name.
Hey,
so the cool thing that Earthquaker just released last week is this very cool afterneath pedal, and they're calling this the Retrospective Silver.
Nice.
And while it kind of looks like maybe it is kind of a raw aluminum or steel casing, you know, like the
Sure.
like the Electro Harmonics, you know, where it's not finished and it just kind of, and if you threw it down some stairs into a plastic bin full of dirty forks, you might not be able to tell. This actually is lacquered, so it's got a really nice finish to it.
Nice.
I'm trying to decide how much of this is paint. I mean, you can tell that it was like raw aluminum that they sanded to get kind of some texture on it, and then they lacquered it to lock in the freshness. So these are cool. It's not tonally, it's not any different than the Afterneath pedal that they've got, but this is a fantastic gritty sounding. It's not gritty, but it's one of those very spacious reverbs.
I think that's one I'm supposed to check out. Again, if Dylan's still in the chat, I asked him on the flip side what the FAQ about a multi-verb reverb, and I think it was that one he had mentioned. I'm looking for a reverb that's not just one reverb, but not most multi-reverbs out there are crap, you know, because they're Amazon. Hey, here's 10 reverbs in one, and they all suck.
Right.
I want a good multi-verb.
All right, so I'll tell you what this has that sets it apart from a lot of other pedals. First of all, your controls are common. Your length, your diffuse, which is going to be how fast it dissipates when it finally stops. The dampen, which will kind of reduce the brightness to it. The reflect, which will give you some shimmer. Drag, which if I am understanding correctly, kind of changes how quickly it goes into the reverb. And then the mix, if you can, I'm really sorry about the lighting here. Okay, so if you can see, these are the controls. Then you've got a mode knob here. Over here, this is where an expression pedal would go in. So you can swell it in there. But one of the things that I love about Earthquaker pedals is their what they call the Flexi Switch technology. You guys know what that is? Flexi Switch?
No.
The Flexi Switch is, if you notice, it's not clicking when I press it. Can you hear that it's not? I mean, it's just, it goes down. So
yeah,
their switches are, and I would say most of their pedals are this way now, even some of the distortion pedals. But the Flexi Switch is, when you just go click, it turns it on. Click, turns it off. But if it's off and you just hold it down, because you only want this effect on for a few seconds, you hold it down for more than like 3 seconds, and it becomes a momentary switch. So as soon as you let your foot off of there, the effect stops. Right?
Okay.
How cool would that be?
I like that. I like that a lot. Oh, Earthquaker, you make me more of a fan all the time.
No, they're really clever and really creative with the way they approach pedals.
Yeah,
and I've always thought so.
Yeah, I think when I first came across them, it was mostly here's a bunch of our fuzzes, and I was just like, whoa, that's way too much fuzz because I'm not a fuzz guy, you know, and very lack of controllability. Like, you know, it's a fuzz without a level control, so it's just there. And I was just like, oh, I don't like that.
Oh, you're talking about like the Eruptor.
Yeah.
Or like the Acapulco Gold with like one big knob.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, they're one of those companies. But then I got into the whole back end of a pedal board with them, and their delays and their reverbs and some of their modulation. And I was just like, oh, this is nice. And hell, the Rainbow Machine.
Yeah, the Rainbow, and you love that thing, right? That, by the way, that has the same Flexi Switch pedal on it.
Okay.
Flexi Switch technology on it. So give it a try next time.
Okay.
The other thing that they launched in the last couple of months, and I do have a few of them in stock, is the Hizumitas Fuzz, which is... How many of you guys have heard of the Hizumitas Fuzz?
It rings a bell.
Hizumitas. So there is a Japanese band called, hold for verification. The band is called Boris,
Okay.
like Boris, but they're Japanese. The guitarist, which I believe is also the front person,
Sure.
there we go, is Wata. She is the singer. She's the guitar player, and she is known for her
That's why.
experimental style playing.
Yeah.
No, go listen to it. I mean, some of it's like really heavy. Some of it's really mellow.
Yeah, I caught some of it the other day. They just put out a video with her.
They do often. So this particular pedal, the pedal that she was using was an Elk BM Sustainer. So it's a Japanese variant of the very well-known Triangle BMP. So I will say that none of that means anything to me. And maybe it's getting into a level of pedal nerdery that doesn't exist in my body yet. I'm building to certain things, but this is one that I'm not familiar with. So, but it's a great sounding fuzz pedal. It's got a ton of controllability on it with 3 knobs, but it's still a great sounding pedal, and it's really usable. When I play a fuzz pedal, you know, the things that you want to check out with a fuzz pedal are how fuzzy does it get, and then after you've decided that this is way too fuzzy for any usable tone, which most reasonable guitarists would do, then you back it down to where you kind of want it to be, and then you roll the volume back on your guitar, and that's where you find your really sweet spot, to where you can run like your guitar at half volume and still have a decent kind of an overdriven fuzz. It sounds more like overdrive than fuzz when you do that. But then when you really feed that pedal a lot more volume, and one of my favorite things about the fuzz pedal is that when I'm running through a good fuzz pedal, my playing sounds so clean. Like you can hear every note, and it's because the way the fuzz is interacting with the signal is that it's a lot of like hard starts and stops in the sound wave. So when you change a note, like I can play a really fast run and it sounds amazing. If I play that same thing the same way with just overdrive or, God forbid, a clean tone, oh no, it's sloppy. It doesn't sound good. But a good fuzz run the right way, it'll make anyone into a guitar god, I promise.
I dig it. And
there you go, Big Muff Pie. Of course that's what it is. Well, and I knew that. But I have a lot of things to remember. So we'll just say I didn't know. I mean, I did, but had I really committed it to memory, I would have.
It sounded familiar. I'm like, I know that. Yeah, Triangle BMP. I was like, I know that. Why do I know that? Because I've got pedals that have been based off that. Yeah, I think my Stinger fuzz is based off that.
And really, part of my issue here is that I'm just looking at the product copy so that I don't give wrong information. And they're not going to call out an Electro Harmonix Big Muff in the product copy for an Earthquaker pedal.
Yeah.
So there you go. And the way they designed this particular pedal was they actually got Wata's pedal that she uses on recordings, that she uses on tour. And it's our coveted rare pedal. And she sent it to them to reverse engineer to get the tone out of it. And when she heard what they had come up with, she was really pleased with it.
Michael Chris says, because abbreviations are confusing, damn it.
VRMN. Need I say more?
Yeah. I just remember the first time I showed off the first Vermin I had. One of the first times I showed it off on here on air, I had Ryan Burke from 60 Cycle Hum on, and I held it up. He's like, I designed that rat graphic because he designed vector art and sold it as a side gig in the past.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. Wow. He's like, I know that image. I was like,
that's funny.
What are the chances? Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Somatic Dusty says, I use a DS1 stacked on a Friedman BEOD Deluxe. What would be a good DS1 alternative?
Ask that again. Please repeat that question. I'm going to listen very closely to it this time.
I use a DS1 stacked into a Friedman BEOD Deluxe.
Uh-huh.
What would be a good DS1 alternative?
Well, the question that I would have, if I worked at Guitar Center and you asked me that question, I would probably just come up with whatever the most expensive distortion pedal was and say, this is the one that you want. But my question about that, my follow-up would be, well, what about the DS1 is making you consider something that's not a DS1?
Yeah. I'm also curious, are you using a lot of gain and not a lot of level, or a lot of level with the gain turned down?
Well, traditionally with the guys that are throwing a DS1, and by the way, the list is long of guys who throw a DS1 in front of their amps, like Steve Vai and Zach Wild and Warren D. Martini, and I mean whatever they're doing now versus what they used to do back in the day. But I will say that
I said a rat.
Today's DS1 doesn't sound like the 30-year-old DS1.
No.
And just the component availability changes, and they change the pedal, and the circuit is basically the same, but it doesn't quite sound the same. Right. And whether it's better or worse is going to be up to personal interpretation. But if you're not getting out of a DS1, and so what happens is these guys will run the DS1 in front, and they just want it to be a boost. They got a JCM 800. They don't want to run a second channel. They just want to hit a pedal on their pedal board and have everything be louder for the solo.
Right. It says, I love the DS1, just wondering any alternatives. The Friedman BOD Deluxe is an overdrive pedal. Basically, yeah. Use the DS1, gives really nice feedback. Okay, so you're going into saturation with it.
I'll tell you what one of my favorite distortion pedals is that I don't think gets nearly enough love is the Keeley Filaments.
Mm.
And it is one of those. Do you ever just sit down with like a new pedal and you can, especially when you go through a lot? I mean, Ben, I've seen your pedal pile. And I can see some in the background there. This is not the same size of pedal pile as I'm used to seeing. Yeah. Right? There's more somewhere.
Oh yeah, there's another 40 or 50 over there.
You go through pedals and you find that you can kind of know what to expect from different distortion pedals. You kind of know what to expect from different overdrive pedals, and every once in a while, like, I will say it's rare that you find one that sounds really bad, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Usually
you find at least a sweet spot in all pedals. It's
sure. And usually you'll find one that is like passable. You're like, okay, yeah, this is good. This is decent. But then it's also just as rare that you find one where it just kind of drops your jaw and you just go, what's happening inside this box? And the Filaments was one of those pedals for me where I felt like I felt like I was witnessing something that was completely new in distortion pedals. Like, I don't know how this pedal was doing what it did, because I've had a lot of pedals. I've had super high end expensive distortion pedals. I've had like the most sought after stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this Filaments, when I plugged it in, I went, oh man. And I just went through, and there is not a bad spot on the dial. Like, everything was amazing for different reasons. So yeah. There you go.
John Shane mentions the Wampler Pantheon. That might be an option because I think John also plays through BEOD, so he's got experience there. Definitely not a Metal Zone on 11, Brad, or 3 of them, John. I would say a Keeley modified DS1 would be interesting as an option because obviously he mods it for a reason. What does he do to it?
You can find schematics. You can figure out exactly what they've done. I mean, Keeley doesn't really do any more mods, so
no. Oh, okay. Sorry, John. He has a BE 100.
Yeah, which by the way, BE 100 with forgive me, is it 2-channel or is it 3-channel? I think it's a 2-channel head.
Yeah, it's a deluxe, so it's probably 2 at least.
But it does it have a boost on the overdrive channel?
Probably
in which
not.
case you'd want to get that. But the other thing is that the BEOD already has plenty of gain on tap.
3 channels.
It's 3 channels, so there you go.
It's all the channels.
It's been a while since I plugged into one of those. You know what I'm thinking about getting? And I have the old, I mean like 2008.
That's considered old.
I guess it is now, huh?
We're halfway to vintage almost. So.
The EVH 5153 head. 100 watt.
Right.
Which was my number. I mean, that's how I got all my tone forever. And the thing is, I'm not carrying amps to gigs anymore. I stopped doing that a few years ago. But I've thought about selling that thing and getting the newest version of the 50 watt head. The other guitar player in my tribute band just did that.
Hey, Mad Dog.
And he called me the other day to tell me how great he thought it was.
Because you can push it a little more without pushing everything more.
Well, right. But then the problem with the previous version of the 50 watt was that the green channel, which is the clean, and the blue channel, which is your overdrive, shared gain and volume settings.
Oh, okay.
Or gain and EQ. I think maybe they had different master volume. I can't remember. Right. But it was really inconvenient for guys who like to switch between clean and dirty.
Right. And yeah. It's one of those. If you either want an amp to go between clean and dirty, or dirty and lead, basically mimic a second channel louder or more gainy and louder.
Which, if you have any experience with those 5150 heads, that third channel, the red channel, the lead channel, is got so much gain, it's not usable for anything but like the 30 seconds worth of the lead playing in a song. Because it's just, if you try to do chords with it, it's too muddy.
Right.
But when you're doing leads, I mean, it sounds great because it's like a ridiculous punch in the gain and in the overall volume. But it's not convenient if you really need like a clean and a dirty and a lead channel. The old 50 watt didn't do that, but the new 50 watt ones, and I want to say as of about 2018, so it's not like it's that recent, but they have independent volume and gain for the clean and for the overdrive channel.
Makes sense.
So that suddenly makes me more interested in having that as a 50 watt, and then the footprint is smaller, and so I could see taking that to a gig and just plugging it into like a power station or something and still running direct.
Sure.
Because I just don't have any desire to take a 412 cabinet to a gig anymore.
I hear you.
And I'll tell you what, sound guys love it when I show up without an amp.
Oh, I bet. I bet, because I have the control. It's not all him.
Yeah. So we've also been doing this thing where I bought a rack-mounted mic splitter.
Okay.
So I bring this What's funny is now I bring more gig. I bring more gear to a gig than I ever did in my life because I play keyboards and I play guitar, and then I also bring the monitor rack. So I've got this 16 space rolling rack, and it's got a mic splitter in there, and then I've got every one of the inputs labeled for the sound guy, and then so they just run all their microphones into my box, and then I've got another trunk that comes out of the back that's 30 feet, so it can reach wherever they need it to go, and on all the little tails are labeled for what they are. And then I've got one trunk going into my digital mixer in the rack that feeds our in-ear monitors. So sound check takes a lot.
Love you more because they're like, wait, we don't have to deal with monitors.
Wait, we don't have to deal with they still kind of do if sometimes because you know, we like to have a fail safe just in case something goes crappy with our in-ears. But oh yeah, no, we've gotten. And I'll just tell you what, man.
Always the biggest factor at every gig I've ever played is how much monitor can we get, you know, or the rare occasion where they actually have a decent system where you're like, whoa, that's too much monitor, you know.
Right.
But generally it's like, remember, I'd say conservatively, 15 to 20% of gigs I've shown up, there was no monitors. They're like, well, it's just sidewash. I'm like, that's not a thing. That's
not helpful. That's not helpful for the band on the stage. Sorry.
No. Hearing me echoing off the back wall doesn't help.
No. And I'll tell you, man, since we started using the in-ear monitors, we don't walk away from the gigs going, man, that sounds awful. Because that'll ruin your gig.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the downside to using the in-ears is that you don't get that, you don't feel the same connection with the crowd.
Right.
So there is a downside, but
there's some Pete Thorne.
I'd rather have a better performance.
Mike built in for that.
What's that?
Pete Thorne was saying the in-ear monitors he uses, they have a mic on the outside of them or something, so you can filter in crowd, like you can actually mix in ambient sound as well.
Well, I could run a microphone into my. I could just run a microphone into my mixer, like set something up in front of the stage, like an area mic or something pointed toward the crowd. But then that would mess with the other sound that we've got coming into the in-ears. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I forget how you mentioned it, but somehow it actually works well. So if somebody comes over, for instance, like blah, 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 you can hear, it's like, it's weird because it's like you have the mix, but you also have some of the stage as well. And I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Mystery. I don't know. It's like pedals. I don't care how they're built as long as it sounds good.
As long as it works, right? As long as it works.
Yeah. Their job's to build the product. My job's to abuse it.
Yeah. Each in-ear has its own mic. Lawrence Cache, Alaska, I'm assuming is what AK stands for.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what brand that might be?
Yeah, he gets asked all the time. You think I could remember?
Can someone come up with the brand?
Yeah.
That would make me happy. To have mics on the outside. I would definitely get into that. I mean, unless they're like $500, because at my core, I'm a cheapskate.
ASI.
All right, let's go look over here. How much is an ASI? Wait a minute.
ASI audio.
ASI audio.
Thanks for the hookup, Lawrence. Appreciate it.
In-ear monitor.
John DeShane says $700.
Oh.
But is that Canadian? Well, Rob, if you really dig them, you become a distributor of them, you see. Then you just sell enough of them online to pay for the ones that you need for the band.
Oh, I'm not buying them for those guys. They can get their own.
Yeah, but at least
what am I, Daddy Warbucks? I don't think so.
No, you sell them to them at wholesale. You know, a little over cost.
ASI. Oh, this is. I was looking. One of the first links that comes up is Z-Sounds, and then you click on it, and it says no longer available at Z-Sounds.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Jim Woodard brings. It's funny. We spend a bunch of money on pedals and guitars, but $700 for in-ear monitors. That's crazy.
No, it's not. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what this deal is, though, because it's got the headphones that come out, the actual in-ear bits that come out, and then they go into a box. And what is the deal with this box? Because at the end of the headphones is this, it looks like two headphone jacks stuck in the same, coming out of the same thing. This can be your screenshot. So then do I plug that box into my other in-ear box that I attach to my belt? And then where do I put the first one? In my pocket? But I can see them here. $549 is the price from their website. $549 American with free shipping.
Nice. And
that is $150 off right now. It's a limited time offer. But I can't.
Green says, while you're at it, become a distributor for Musicom Labs switchers. Why, John? Are you in the market for one? I get it.
All right. Well, look, you guys don't need to watch me shop for in-ear monitors.
Well, they've watched me shop for stuff online, so.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm gonna look
and
at
actually,
that.
it was John Duchesne that when you had messaged me a few weeks ago, we were trying to help out friends with a tech issue, possibly in Vancouver. It was John that offered up his tech, and his tech is also the tech for Nickelback. So we had a good tech in place if your buddy needed it for that. I think it was a pickup selector needed to be installed on the road. So I just remembered that during the Monday night show, and I was like, hey, let me throw it out to the crowd, because you're like, do you know anybody in Vancouver? And I was like, no, but I'm doing a show in a couple hours.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and so this is a situation where, so I don't know if I share a lot of this information, but BC Rich has a number of custom shop builders that they use for their USA made guitars. And I supply one of them with kill switches and a few other parts. And one of them is a black toggle switch, like a Les Paul style toggle switch. Well, my supplier for those switches stopped selling them. So I had to scramble and find a whole bunch quickly from another supplier. And I got them in and I sent them off to this builder. And I don't know how many of them, but it was an embarrassing situation for me, an embarrassing situation for him, because a lot of them failed. And this was one of those. So he was trying to find someone that could replace this. And it's someone who's on the road. They don't have any knowledge about their own gear. So they couldn't fix it with just the part. But luckily he was able to find a friend in Seattle that got him taken care of the next day. So
right. Yeah, because by the time we had worked it out on air, I'd messaged you and you're like, no, we got to handle them. Awesome.
Yeah. So,
and I filed that away. If I ever have a problem and I'm out in Vancouver, John's my first phone call.
Yeah.
He's got a guy.
There you go.
Hey, right.
Yeah. So next time for sure. And I like having a group of people that I can call upon. And certainly I've got a list of installers on my website, guys that I have worked with that I know do a good job, or buy a bunch of switches for installations for their stores. And it's good to have that group of people to work with, but I wish it were more.
I hear you. I get that.
Yeah.
And thanks, Terry, for throwing the links in the chat and stuff. Appreciate it. Yes. Everybody go buy something, and then Rob can afford to buy some in-ear monitors. And if you all use my coupon code, Rob will take pity and send me more decals, and a big one for the van.
Well, you go like this. It's 6 inches wide, though. I mean, it's still pretty big.
All right, this big.
You can see if you're in traffic. the car like 3 cars behind you would be able to read it.
Well, that's perfect.
So,
Someone stole my LPD one off the back of the van.
What?
Last year. Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. Why would they steal a sticker off? Because it's not like you can reuse them.
I don't know. No, it was a magnetic one. Hey, there's Craig.
Hey, Craig. Craig. All right, I want to because I know Craig didn't. Craig did an awesome job on this body, but I know that Craig didn't see the switches that I put in there, and he didn't see what happens when you plug in, because this kill switch wasn't wired up when he sent it off to me. So Craig, here's what happens, and then this lights up as I forgot that.
Honestly, it's purple.
It's kind of a purple. It's kind of a purple color. It's very cool. Very.
It's there, honest, folks. Yeah, you did a great job, as usual, my friend.
And all the buckle rash I mentioned that was on the back. Obviously, he finished the whole guitar.
Yeah, he does amazing work.
And I told him, I says, I don't really even care about the back, so you don't have to worry about it. But he did it probably because there was not a good way to do just the top.
Right.
But
plus, if the top looks beautiful, the back looks just that much worse in many ways.
Well, I mean, what do I need? Flowers on the back? I'm going to be the only one that's ever going to see it. So
true. That's where you write "call me" upside down, so you can
call me backwards in Russian.
Yeah.
And then who knows what kind of crazy phone calls I'm going to get.
I think that's why you put the bass player's number on there.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, if you only knew the fun that we have with our bass player in our band, and he's a great player, great stage presence. He really is a super nice guy, but he also is like, he's got his personality tics that well, I haven't done it, but I started putting together a bingo card for like when we go on the road, because he kind of he's got his handful of topics that he hits.
Right.
So, yeah. Boomster Black is Craig the painter. Craig definitely finished it for me. It's a fabric that was laid on the guitar. And Craig took care of it, man. He laid the fabric down. He sanded it down bare, glued the fabric on, and then Craig, I don't know if you even know, but how many coats of clear are on that, do you think? How many coats did you do?
All of them.
It was all of them, yeah, no doubt. It was a lot. I mean,
it looks so deep.
You can kind of tell that it's a lot. Yeah, kind of. There's little things that you can kind of tell. Yeah, I know it, but it is. Yeah, I told that story, Craig. The first fabric didn't work out. It turned brown, and Craig, when he shipped the guitar back to me, he shipped the it was like a turtle carapace that had been hollowed out. It was just like the fabric that didn't work. It was that he had just like pulled off of the guitar with the clear coat still on it, so it was still kind of like that carved guitar shape. I'm like, oh, come on. It was so gross looking, and I felt dirty just even touching it. I threw it away, Craig. I hope you don't feel bad about that.
So 14 coats of clear, and he sanded off 8 of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's and it's smooth, man. It's good. He did a great job. I'm
if you have a guitar you want refinished, folks, reach out to
cannot wait.
Guitars.
Cannot wait to have this thing all put back together and take it on the road with me. Cannot wait.
Yes, you can find CHX Custom Guitars, I believe, on Facebook and Instagram.
Yep.
So, always like giving shout outs to friends that do quality work.
Craig, what is your? I know that. So this guitar, it was worth the wait, but definitely it took a long time. Craig, the last I heard was not taking any new commissions. Is that changed? Or if you are, what's the lead time? But I would definitely recommend Craig and his work. And the other thing is that I love supporting people that, first of all, do a good job, but like crappy people can do good jobs too. And I like to support good people that do good jobs. And Craig is definitely one of those guys. So on top of being a master of his craft, he's a good human being. And that's what I like the most about
it. He's about 6 months behind, and it all depends.
Yeah.
I get it. Hey, Metal Mike and Brett.
Well, and with the understanding that as long as I waited for this guitar, we had a few speed bumps along the way, such as the first fabric not working out. So,
right.
Which he up to that point, like getting that first. By the time he got that on there and sent me the photo and said, "Man, this just looks bad," which I agreed. I mean, he actually called me. He's like, "Hey, man, I don't know what to tell you about this, but I did the clear coat and it's not working. It's not working out. It's like kind of brown." I'm thinking, all right, well, I wonder how bad it is. Like, oh, well, let me send you a photo. I was like, no, that's not going to work at all.
No.
I mean, and I'd show you the fabrics. He sent all the extra fabrics back to me. I've got them downstairs, so. Or I'd show them to you. But yeah, I mean, it was such a cool looking fabric, and it just didn't translate. It didn't go well.
Let's see. Thanks for kind words. Yeah. And I don't know if Craig has an email address that we can post, although probably get held for review, but we try because some people aren't on the Book of Faces or the Gram of Instas. I get it. You be you.
Oh, and Craig just ordered another Switch from me. I got my guitar in like the very next day. Here comes this Switch order from Craig.
Did you use coupon code Canucks, Craig?
No, you know what? And I love him, but he always orders from eBay.
Well, that's an option.
And hey, man, I don't care. The reason I sell on eBay and on Reverb and on my own website and some products on Amazon is because I feel like I can reach an audience that is wider than what someone would get to if they were just gonna, if I only had my own website.
Sure. Craig wanted to see the headstock, and he was curious what tuners you decided to go with.
Okay, so the headstock, Craig. Here you go. Here's the headstock for you guys that are curious about what it looks like, and I'm going to use the Open Gear hip shot locking tuners and the industrial tuning keys. So I think this is I have now put these on all my gig guitars because I think this is probably the slickest. They remind me, if you remember the Roswell, like the old Jackson Roswell guitar that had the LSR tuners on it, and the backs were different, and the function was different. Like they didn't have a thing that spun.
Right.
Basically, it like pulled the string in, but
right.
But they had knobs, buttons like this.
Mm-hmm.
So what I like about it is that they're kind of coming off at an angle.
Mm-hmm.
So I like how they do that.
Yep.
But as I mentioned before, these holes are they just barely don't line up with the hole on the tuning key. So a couple of these I'm going to have to plug and re-drill. So I'm waiting on a smaller.
And Craig noticed
blue nut screws from FU Tone, and and all the blue bridge parts from FU Tone.
Paul Ewing is saying, visit Tesi Switch, pick up an Acapulco Gold or the Heizamita thing He says both are killer. You'll be thanked by people that you thank. There we are. Awesome. And Paul, Stompbox Steels, great website for pedal info. Paul's reviewed thousands of pedals on there, literally.
Nice.
He's Craig asked, "Are you happy with the fret polishing?"
Yeah, the frets are great.
Nice.
I guess I'll have to really see when I put the strings on there. But yeah, no, I don't have any complaints.
Nice. Let's see. I saw people asking about kill switches.
Yeah. So Jim Woodard asked, "Do I make switches for a Les Paul?" I do have Les Paul style. If you're looking for a toggle switch, I do have some really cool toggle switches. Do I have one here that I can show you?
Have a good one, Ryan. I hope you're feeling better soon, buddy.
I might not have one in front of me, but yeah, like your standard Les Paul switch, I do have some where I'm now using a supplier that I trust, and I'm getting black ones, and I've got chrome ones, and I've got gold ones. They have a metal switch tip on there. Even the black ones, like a black metal switch tip, a gold switch tip, and then a chrome switch tip.
You're thinking more of a push switch. So yeah, I was gonna say you have basically switches available in pretty much every diameter to fit any size hole existing on a guitar.
Yeah. Like, so let's take this one for example. Right here, the one that I decided to use for master volume, because I don't use a knob I don't necessarily need a knob for my volume. This is a latching switch, but I have this. I have them in multiple colors, in momentary operation as well. But this is pops right in. I didn't have to do anything to this hole to get it in there. It just dropped right in. So that's the 10 millimeter switch.
That looked like a 10 mil to me, which is my personal choice of kill switches.
And then the other question that I get about Les Pauls is people want to move their pickup selector and they want to put a kill switch where the current pickup selector is. And so that hole for the Les Paul pickup selector is 12 millimeters. So I've got a bunch of different 12 millimeter switches. Now, if you want a push button that'll switch your pickups, you'll need a switch that has basically a SPDT, single pull.
Yeah, so if it's depressed, it would be one selection. If it's out,
it's basically like an AB pedal, but in a push button form. So it's got 2 inputs and 1 output, or 1 input and 2 outputs. So you can do that. But like you couldn't, like if you wanted to use that for your pickup selector, you could have bridge or neck, but you couldn't have both.
Right.
So there you go.
Now that would be interesting. Yeah, like if you did it like down his neck, out, then like that would be an interesting stutter effect, because it would be a weird flutter if you're literally fluttering between pickups. Because I don't think it's not the same with a 3-way, because you have that momentary third option in there. That'd be interesting. I wonder how that would work. Almost like tremolo effect.
Sure. Why wouldn't it?
Especially if you drop the neck pickup in, so it will be a drop in volume as well. It could. All right. As he eyes up.
Yeah, now he's looking for what guitar to do that to. Craven Soda, the Buckethead arcade button switch is 24 millimeter. And if you go to my website and you look for the one that is I call it Ditto, DITO, 24 millimeter, and the one that will go on a carved top guitar is the one with the nut that screws on the back. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it'll snap into place, and you can get it to snap in, but you kind of have to fiddle with the back of the guitar to get it in there for thicker surfaces. The snap-in ones are not available in as many colors, but the Buckethead uses the red ones, and I definitely have those in stock all the time.
All kinds of stuff in stock. That's why I was perusing the other day, because I was like, I keep thinking every once in a while, those cream knobs. And I was like, well, I'm not going to make them ship me just knobs. So let's see what we can bundle together. And then I went down the Matero rabbit hole and then the Earthquaker rabbit hole because I'm looking at building a whole new pedal board just for me for the first time in my life because I'm not trying to get other people's tones anymore. I'm going to get my tones. And that's some weird
and honestly, I mean, I think that's the beauty in that is that it's kind of a never-ending thing.
Exactly.
You know,
I know I need a delay with an effects loop in it. That's fun.
Yeah.
Because, I want to put effects on the repeats. And then when I had Aaron from Albus Band on a week or two ago, we came up with a brilliant idea. Why don't we put the Rainbow Machine in the loop of the delay and literally just use the Rainbow Machine just for repeats on delay?
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never even thought about it that way.
See what smoking a lot of weed does, Rob? You come up with
no. I don't. I'm sorry. I have no experience with that.
So yeah. So and I think Earthquaker does make a delay with an effects loop in it.
Let's see.
I think they're on the list, the master list that BV sent me.
Let's see. Earthquaker delay. Probably the Avalanche run. Does that sound right?
Could be.
It's stereo, so maybe not. Although sometimes what they'll do with stereo delays is they
don't. They weren't on the list. They don't do one.
Oh no? Okay.
No. But while I'm thinking of it, I'm saving this. Here we go. Oh, it's Walrus. I always get those two mixed up.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They're Bellwether. That's it.
The Keeley Echoes, I think, does too.
It has a looper, not an effects loop.
No, but I think it has.
Yes, Michael. You need a Rainbow Machine.
I'm pulling it up. You got to give me a minute because much to my very sad admission, my website is slow.
Lawrence says he needs tuners for a Pacifica and an SG. Rob can help you out with that.
Oh, yeah.
All kinds of tuners, including, if you don't see him on his website, if you see a hip shot tuner you like, Rob can get it for you.
Yeah, in fact, I try to keep, I have a lot of them in stock right now. And in addition to the tuning machines themselves, both 6 in line and 3 per side, Fender style, staggered and non-staggered. And if you want to know what the staggered is like each one on an inline is just a little shorter. So that kind of helps
and Lawrence
compensate if you don't have an angled headstock. If you have an angled headstock, you don't need them. But if you don't have an angled headstock, the staggered tuners will pull against the nut. But I also have these industrial tuning buttons in stock as well.
And I always recommend, if your SG has the old headstock dive, which pretty much all of them, get the open back hip shot tuners. You're saving a lot of weight on the headstock then with covers and stuff.
Oh, you mean
a lot of weight? I'm talking
like being heavy, so that so it tips down as you're playing it. Yeah,
where the hip shot open backs on there, you're getting rid of a lot of. It doesn't take much in the mass department, folks, to make a difference.
No,
way down there. It's all about fulcrums and pivot points and math.
Yeah, that's right. I also carry DiMarzio stuff, so I've got a bunch of DiMarzio straps, pickups, and parts.
Which reminds me, yes, good, because there's some parts I need to order, possibly for this Kramer build that I'm doing. Do you do a decent mini volume pot? Does that make sense? Because
sure,
mini shitty ones in.
I don't know if I have any right now. I guess I'd have to go down. Sometimes I look at stuff and my website inventory is not always up to date because I'm still kind of stuck in the Stone Ages of where my inventory system, I don't really have one. So I keep track of everything on a spreadsheet, which works sometimes. It usually works. My inventory on my spreadsheet is usually pretty solid, but it doesn't feed anywhere. So if I sell something off of my website, or if I, then, and then the inventory will change on my website. But if I sell something off of Amazon, the inventory on my website doesn't change.
Right.
So sometimes it's not accurate.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, like, rather than looking on a website, it's easier to just ask, or I would have texted you the same thing. I need a 500 meg mini pot that's not shitty. I have this. Perfect.
So I know that I have had alpha pots that are the mini pots. They're good. I
figured the one that was in it probably isn't that good because that guitar retail for $200 US. So
yeah, I mean, I can get.
Actually, it doesn't matter, Lawrence. You can use the link down below or just type it in. Just use the coupon code. You save. So and then it just puts guilt on Rob. I don't get anything from the transactions, but that's how it works. Well, he was wondering like if it was an affiliate link down below because he's going to order some tuners and stuff. And I was like, yeah. I said no. Doesn't matter how you get there. Just make sure to use the coupon code.
Yeah, I use the coupon code. Yeah. And let me tell you, I love it when people use the coupon codes. And I learned this a long time ago when I was a kid. And by kid, I mean I was in my mid-20s. And in a way, I'm still a kid, even though I'm nearly 50. When I was a kid, I worked at Musician's Friend, and I started working there in the call center. They had just opened a call center in Salt Lake City. And Salt Lake City's the call center mecca because it's a generic accent, right?
Right.
So everybody's got their call centers there. GE and Capital One, I think, does. American Express employs a lot of people in Salt Lake City. And Musician's Friend just opened this call center in Salt Lake City. So I'm there like a month after they had opened. I was in the second hiring group that they had ever had in that building. And they had almost the whole top floor of this building that they were using, and it was 490 something. I don't know. I can't remember how many, but that's how many stations there were. And when I started, there was only about 30 people working there. So we were all shoved in this little tiny area, and then vast amounts of space going all the way back to, and the room seemed so big because it was mostly empty. And then obviously over the course of the years, as they started building their business and getting more people, and then they filled it up and they outgrew that space. But on the back of the Musician's Friend catalog, and whenever someone would call up to place an order, we'd ask for their source code. And it was typically just like a number of the catalog and then like another 6 digits that might have been specific to that customer. But like the first 4, like 1904B would mean, 2019 April version B catalog, and then some other numbers. But we always had to ask for that source code. And for a while I was like, why are we bothering with this source code? And it would really be to track like, where are these orders coming from? All right. So, and as I grew with that company, I moved over to the corporate side, and I was a buyer and a marketer. And then it was, explained to me, well, we got to figure out where we're spending money. And we want to figure out if we're spending money on these catalogs, is it working? So we always want to get the source code that would tell us if the catalog was working. But then we had other more sophisticated ways as more and more people started ordering online. Anyway, my point of this story, to make a long story slightly less long, is that I love it when I get people using the Canucks coupon code, because it means that, you know, I mean, this is, I feel like this group, and I see some unfamiliar names in the chat, but I see a lot of familiar names in the chat, and I love it. And it's like my friends need to buy something, and I want to, I want to throw my friends a little deal. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, it's one of the guys. Yeah. And that's the way I see it. It's like, you know, someone's like, hey, do you know where a fella can find this? I'm like, yeah, I know a guy. Link down below. Yeah,
and you know what, Ben? It shows that you do that, because I get more Canucks coupon codes than anybody else's. No question.
Folks know how to save. It's good. It's good. Which, again, helps me out, because then I go to Rob and I'm like, I need this. And he's like, all right, for this price. I'm like, all right, that works.
Yeah. Well, and I've gotten you some weirdo pieces too, like that hip shot B-bender.
I still haven't got around to getting that installed yet. I got to grow it.
That's a big project.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And my luthier buddy is supposed to be moving to this area, and he moved his entire shop from BC to Ontario. He had to go back to BC to pick up his car, but ran out of money. So he's there right now just doing odd jobs. He's a personal trainer. He can do fitness classes and stuff. So he's okay now. So he's like, I got to work for a month out here to save up enough gas money to get back. I'm like, all right, buddy, I'll see you in a month. So
or now he's got to work for 2 months to save up enough gas money.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what he's driving. Hopefully it's not something big. Hopefully.
Do they sell gas by the gallon or by the liter in Canada?
Liter. Yeah.
And that's liter RE, not ER, right?
Most of the time, yeah. It's one of those ones where we just spell it RE just because we do. Like center, same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why we do that. It's the British spelling as well as the French spelling, I think. I think that's how it works.
Well,
same reason why we throw extra U's and stuff like neighbor.
Right. Well, yes. If you got spare U's, use them.
Exactly.
Why not? An extra U never hurt anybody.
Amanda says because it's correct.
Well,
how much a liter? I don't know. It varies. I think it's been going down though. I think it was down to about $1.65 a liter. It was up pushing 190 for a while there. So I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like toilet paper. You get it when you need it. I don't really have a choice in the matter. So,
well, I'll tell you what, I've never been happier that I don't have to drive very much.
That's true. Yeah, it's a pleasure to work from home.
Although
and living on the edge of town, so if I do have to get anything, it's literally maybe 2 miles each way.
Right when things started going haywire with the gas prices, we had to go to Florida, and we were playing at the first gig that we had down there was so far away that we actually had to do the trip in 2 days. So like we left at 5 p.m. or something on one day. We stopped in Macon, Georgia, halfway there, stayed overnight, and then got on the road like really early in the morning to get to the venue. But we're watching these gas prices, and it was like everything was over $4 a gallon, and it was like right when things just started going way up, and we were so thrilled. The second town that we played in was it was like $4.04 a gallon. We're like, well, that's the cheapest gas we've seen all weekend.
Fill her up.
Yeah. Too bad we couldn't have gotten extra. What's Hit Metalwork says $1.69 on the island. What island is that?
Vancouver Island.
Oh, Vancouver Island. Okay.
Yeah, that's cheap for BC. BC usually has the most expensive gas. Well, like John, so he's outside Vancouver, $2.25 for diesel. Yeah, I don't understand. Diesel used to always be cheaper, and then it flipped at some point, and now it's more expensive.
Wouldn't
see you, Zach?
See, Zach, thank you for hanging out with us. Don't you think that Vancouver should have lower gas prices? Just transportation costs would be lower.
But you think Alberta would be the cheapest. That's where it all comes from in Canada. And then spread out from there. But I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't get it. Yeah.
I guess I just don't understand. I don't understand.
Yeah, those are macro problems, and I'm just trying to dial in a good tone.
Hey, let me ask you this, Ben. One of my favorite things is when people in the USA blame their gas prices on the president. Do they do that in Canada?
They do.
But do they blame it on our president or your prime minister?
Oh, no. All inflation's our prime minister's fault. I'm like, but what about the other countries that have the same inflation rate? And they're like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, okay,
So that's why I'm asking. Is the Canadian gas price Joe Biden's fault, or no?
Yeah. No,
because either all of it is or none of it is, right?
No, it's interesting when you look at the price of gas and the value of the barrel of oil, and they don't stay the same, even though they say that's how they set their prices. And no, it's Obama's fault, John. Come on. I thought that's
it's
Obama.
It's Bush's fault. First one and then the other.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. We had nationalized oil and then we sold it off. So some people blame the PM for nationalizing it, and then there's the others that blame the PM for selling it off. So
wait. What does that mean? Nationalized oil? Is that like nationalized healthcare?
Yeah.
So everybody got free gas?
No, we paid for it, but the government sold it. Like you went to the Petro-Canada gas station, that was a government-owned gas station.
Oh, I see what you mean. So then who'd they sell it to?
Some corporation that, they privatized it.
A corporation or corporations? Like, so now instead of
a corporation.
So now you have like Valero and Shell and.
Oh, we had all the other companies as well. It was weird. Like by the time I, was growing up, it's like we had nationalized oil, like Imperial Oil. Yeah. And then we also had other companies. So I'm like, okay, I don't quite understand, but Canada's big on monopolies, where the US doesn't like monopolies, Rob. Canada's huge on monopolies. The
US,
I think it's because Canada, we're just happy to have one of anything. And that's what the mentality that was forced upon us for generations. Oh, just be happy to have this. Right.
Now the US will pretend like they don't like monopolies.
They do.
But then they're selective about which monopolies they'll allow.
Yeah.
For example, when Bell was the phone company, and I think it was maybe in the 70s, and they said, no, Bell, you can't be the only phone company.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the same here.
So they busted up, and they're like, where I grew up in Utah, we had Mountain Bell.
Yeah.
And then there's Pacific Bell, and then there's, the different Bell companies, but then that grew into so now it's basically like.
Well, that too, John.
All AT&T. Well, so suddenly AT&T is the biggest company and they owned all these subsidiaries. So it was still a monopoly, but cleverly disguised as subsidies or whatever. Subsidiaries is the word I'm looking for.
Still to this day, there's only Bell Canada for a landline.
But I don't have a choice where I buy my natural gas. I don't have a choice of where I buy my electricity. This
is true. Yeah, unless it's DIY, right? Unless you go basically off grid.
Right. Which, wasn't a viable option for anybody until, or for most people until maybe, I'll say 10 years ago, but maybe really not even that.
Yeah. No, even 10 years ago, you could help. Yeah, you can't go totally off grid, but where you have, hey, I'm actually feeding the system during the day because I'm not home, I'm at work, blah, blah, blah. And then you would draw from the system in the evening.
Right.
Which was a great deal. I don't know if it's still the way, the way the incentives were to do that 20 years ago. I remember in Canada, it was the hydro companies were losing money because they were like, to incentivize it was, we would pay you peak for your electricity. And then it worked out because you weren't using during peak hours, that it would be like a lot of people were getting negative electrical bills.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the company's like, we need to reduce the rate that we pay for electricity from these people and stuff.
Yeah. So at one point,
profits.
And I have a feeling that those are probably going to start back up at some point, in at least in the U.S. in the future, with so much emphasis being placed on green energy and solar and
well, you almost you need that hybrid thing. Like ideally, I've been ranting about it for years. It's like every new subdivision that gets built should have solar panels on the roofs, stuff like that. So it's like you can still have a national grid, but you're somewhat independent as well. So like, as if you need to take electricity from the grid, you can. If you don't, you can feed into it. But
right,
among other things like that,
Yeah, no, and I think it makes sense. And I'm
that way you don't have to have a big field of solar panels because you already threw them on the roofs that aren't doing anything, not even collecting rainwater if you're not smart.
Well, but how? So, and I don't know the answer to this, but how durable are they? Are they going to withstand?
Well, you see, you figure you see random houses already with solar panels on them. Why not? Why not every?
Yeah, no, I know, but I don't like, if I'm going to buy a solar panel, like if I re-roof my house, I know that roof is going to last 20 years.
Right.
If I put solar panels on there, are they going to get broken during the first hailstorm where I've got like golf balls coming down out of the sky? I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Plus, I live in a tornado zone, so what's going to happen to them then?
Yeah. Well, that's
will they blow off my shingles. I might lose a couple of shingles in a big windstorm, but if I lose a solar panel, it's going to be thousands and thousands of dollars.
You just hope you have a low deductible.
I don't know.
Yeah. Where's our insurance broker in the chat? He could help us out with stuff like that.
Right. Right. Man. Boy, we're getting some heavy topics tonight. We're going to solve.
Yeah, we took a turn at the 2-hour mark. That was interesting. Well, we'll go to the bottom of the hour just to make it fancy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure.
But did you know that Ontario has 250,000 freshwater lakes?
No, how would I know that?
I don't know. I recently found that out again myself, and I was blown away by that stat.
What's the size of the smallest lake? What are they considering a lake?
I don't know. Smaller than a bay, I assume.
I mean, where do they put them all?
Well, Ontario is pretty big. You can drive for 24 hours and not leave Ontario.
Pass. If I'm driving for 25, if I'm starting in Ontario and I'm driving for 24 hours, I want to be out of it by the time I'm done driving.
Yeah. If you start at one end and want to get to the other, it's going to take a while.
You mean top to bottom?
Top to bottom, straight
north
to north, I think is about 18 hours.
Because I mean, I know it's big, but like,
yeah, it's because you have to go around the Great Lakes, so there's added time. It's not.
Oh, I guess I'm thinking like straight line.
Yeah. No, that's once you leave Ontario, you can take a straight line all the way to BC and barely see a hill because that's the prairies for 3 provinces.
Right.
Yeah. That's 2 days of driving. Just, straight.
I can't even imagine. I don't know. I'd let somebody else drive while I tried to sleep through most of it.
Oh, exactly.
And it's garbage sleep. It's the kind of sleep where...
Yeah, BC Rich says Ontario is basically Australia with snow.
Yeah.
LRM puts out the fun set. 9 states border Ontario.
Saskatoon. No hills in Saskatoon.
Or I think he was going for Saskatchewan. Which
Saskatoon is
in Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan is different, right?
Saskatchewan's the province. Saskatoon's one of the cities in it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
It may not it may or may not surprise you. My Canadian geography is not like.
Well, you know, there's
I'm
a
not functioning
song.
like as a C-level student with Canadian geography.
There's a song involving Saskatoon by the Guess Who called "Running Back to Saskatoon." I'm guessing it wasn't a hit outside of Canada for some unknown reason. I wonder why.
There's a Grateful Dead song about the Marrakesh Express. I don't know where that is either.
I do. I think. I used to know. I know the Festival Express that they were on.
Festival Express?
Yeah, it was weird. They decided to take Woodstock and put it on a railroad and do a cross Canada festival. It didn't. Oh, you can't put a bunch of musicians on a train for hours at a time, Rob. That's like linking a bunch of tour buses together. The jam sessions were great, and thank God they filmed it. Because I think it was like the Grateful Dead and Janis Joplin and the band and others. So they all just jammed, and because they all knew the same stuff, all the standards and stuff. And,
oh, sure.
Yeah. I just remember there was a shot of them pulling into a train station, God knows where on the prairies, and there's like a porter with just cases of booze to load onto the train. Like, you see Canadian Club and Crown Royal.
Yeah. Oh, man, I watched this documentary about like one of the biggest cruise ships. It might be the biggest cruise ship. Mm-hmm. And they talk about how much food they have to bring on board, and how much booze they have to bring on board, and how much. Then they went into like the guts of the ship and showed how they get enough clean water, and what they do with all the waste, and what they do with all the food scraps, and how they do laundry on the. I mean, it was amazing.
I can imagine.
It was amazing. It's on Amazon Prime if anybody wants to see it. And it's
there you go. Yeah.
It's called. I'll tell you in just a moment.
One more fun Canadian fact.
I may even watch it again.
Okay.
It's called The Secret Life of the Cruise.
Oh, okay.
The Secret Life of the Cruise. A floating city on the sea. The MSC Seaside is one of the biggest cruise ships in the world with privileged access to every part of the cruise's operation. This film uncovers the army of people and complex systems that keep this extraordinary ship at the top of its game. Full of surprising facts, this captivating program reveals life on board in a way that viewers have never seen before. And the way they spell program is the Canadian way.
Nice.
P-R-O.
Yeah, Paul, you want to point out the fact that Algonquin Park is bigger than England in Ontario.
Algonquin Park?
Yeah.
That's just a park? Is it like a big national park? Here it'd be like a state park or a national park.
Or a national park. Yep. It's huge and awesome. A lot of canoeing in there and a lot of canoeing. There's lakes. Yeah. There's probably hundreds of lakes in Algonquin Park.
Beaver trapping?
A lot. Back in the day. Not so much now.
Is it illegal now?
No, you can get a license to do it. But not just anybody can do it.
You have to be part of the...
Yeah, let's get to the point where beavers become nuisance animals a lot in North America. Again, it took a couple hundred years, but they're back.
Well, it's good if you're a beaver, I guess.
Yep. Not good if you're a farmer.
No, I don't know. Well, listen, I hate to cut this short, but I can hear some things starting to wind down outside, so I got to wrap it up.
Sounds good. Well, let's wrap things up here. Again, folks, links to cool stuff down below. Terry as well has been putting them in the chat. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on, Rob, as always.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I always have a great time.
Yes, and thanks everybody that tuned in tonight. Awesome time. I'll be back tomorrow night with Connects with Guitars with Terry and possibly Tom, depending on how he feels, because that's how it works with Tom. Excuse me. So, as always, folks, hold those doors open. Let Doug's wife ahead of you in traffic because she's real. Yep. That's exactly why. I've been Ben. He's been Rob. Don't litter.